What was yesterday like, man? How was all that, earning both of those accolades? What were those moments like?
Man, it was surreal. Just all the hard work paying off, and just a great feeling just to know that the work paid off. And I think it was more so for not just myself, but for Starkville and my teammates. Just a great feeling for everybody. So.
I know, you usually don't talk about, individual awards, but, how much was that a goal of yours after, going through all those injuries last season to kind of prove that, you were a first team, caliber player in the SEC?
Yeah, I always had it in the back of my mind. I always felt that way about my abilities, but just to see the recognition and the work being shown is just means a lot to me, and I just give all the glory to God. So.
I know each season is different, but you guys had some tough losses last year that were hard to bounce back from. You guys have had some pretty brutal losses this year, as far as at the wire and having a chance to win. But you guys have had the ability to bounce back and flush it and come back pretty strong. What's been the difference this year, you think, with that aspect?
I mean, obviously, before the season, it was a coaching change. We didn't know what to expect, but with Coach Jans, I just think he's always highly motivated. No disrespect to the last coach, but it's a constant going battle with just him and just motivation, just pushing us to be successful each day, day in and day out. And even when we were going through that bad stint, we stayed consistent, and that was the thing that helped us out in the long run. I feel like we've grown closer when we was in that little stint that we had, and then we just waited for the right time to explode, and we did at the right time. So.
What do you kind of expect from Florida this time? Of course, Castleman's gone down, and they're a little bit different. But what do you expect them to be a whole lot different than the first time you played?
Yeah, a whole lot different. Seemed like they changed their whole offense. There's not a lot of rim protection around the rim, but there's still they got a lot of good guard play. The young guy, Kruger, the one who committed here, he's playing really good. I think he averaged like 20 in the last 5. They got some veteran guards. And I think they just do a lot of space out and play, so we got to sit down and guard and then take advantage of what we usually do on offense and rebounding and just being a force in the paint, not just me.
Sorry, man.
It's all good, boss.
Given kind of what the bracketology kind of looks like now with y'all and, heading into the SEC tournament, do you think these couple of games coming up are some of the biggest of your career?
Oh, man, for sure. I think just for my personal benefit, I just, me one always had the option to go to the tournament or the chance to go to the tournament. It's obviously a big game for us, and we're taking it as that. We're scouting earlier than usual. We're preparing earlier. We're doing a lot of things different. So, yeah, I just think it's a different mindset. It's the same mindset in every game, but I think, it's a big game for us. So.
What do you think of a challenge like that? Like a time for you to get to the NCAA tournament, for your first time with a few obstacles in front of you. How do you kind of welcome a challenge like that?
Man, we embrace it. We embrace it with open arms. It starts with the coaching staff, the head of the snake, and Coach Jans loves these kinds of opportunities. He always says if it wasn't the hard way, it'd be too easy. So.
Last one.
Tolu, I know there's not much time for preparation and going into the SEC tournament, but just what are the kind of the biggest things that you guys are focusing on before going to Nashville?
We're focused on one game at a time. Just making sure that we take care of business of the first game and not worried about who's playing who or what's going on with the next game. Just knowing that we got Florida ahead of us right now. We got to win.
Certain routine that you have preparing for that first game, or is it different season, different group, or you try to keep it the same as you've done at other places?
It's different depending on the format of the tournament. Every conference has a different number of teams and a different format. So this is our first go around for the SEC tournament, and the format is different. We've got the one bye, and so we completely focused in on Florida, and then we know if we win, what awaits us. But I'm not. I don't have a huge routine about it. We prepare like we always do, maybe a little more hands on deck of everybody having some input into the scout, into watching our opponent more so than the regular season. But other than that, it's pretty, what we do every time.
We'll stay to Coach's right and go to Steph.
Kind of, along those lines, I mean, when you look at the confidence level you have in your team right now, I guess, when you enter this tournament setting, does it give you added confidence knowing that, it seems like for the past month or so, every game has been, or at least felt like a must-win for y'all?
Ask me at 2 o'clock on Thursday. I don't know. There's a lot of different ways to look at it. You would think playing in pressurized situations is always going to help, but if you put on an opponent's cap, you could say, that could also stress you out all year long, and you could have some mental or physical fatigue, probably more mental than anything else. But I don't feel that way about our team. We're certainly disappointed with the outcome on Saturday, and I think every team in America would love to go in, off a win and have as much positive momentum as you can. But at the same time, when the ball is tipped at noon on Thursday, I think the outcome of Saturday's game will be the furthest thing from our mind. And at the same time, I mean, over the last 10, 12 games, if you look at it from that perspective, we're playing our best basketball of the season, and that's where you want to be.
Go ahead.
Coach, I know that it's really, really tough to avoid all the bracketology talk and all the NCAA tournament talk. Are you guys trying to avoid it as a team, or are you guys really embracing the idea of knowing that some of these games coming up are going to be big games for you guys in terms of trying to figure that out?
Yeah, once we decided to talk about it in our room, it's been a consistent message from me. Don't waste your time. It's those people aren't in the room. It's fun, I think, more so for the fans, and it's obviously an unbelievable time of year for college basketball. It's the culmination of a long marathon season, and we're getting into the most exciting part, March Madness. But in terms of, getting caught up and spending a bunch of their time, looking at all the bracketologists and what other people's opinions are, I try to encourage them not to, get caught up in that. But at the same time, we've been pretty blunt with where we're at for the last, 7 to 10 days and what our metrics say and what, as a staff, our opinion is of what needs to happen for us to be where we want to be, this coming Sunday. And at this point, our message has been clear: win games. Everything else will take care of itself. And that's the thing I kept harping on, is that we're in a position where we control our own destiny. At some point, you may not be in that position, and that could be very, very soon. But we're still, in my opinion, in a position where if we win games, we'll be in good shape, but time will tell.
Stay to Coach's left and go to Danny P., front row.
Coach, I know Florida's a little bit different because they lost Castleman, but is it a whole new scout, or how are y'all approaching this game this time around?
We played them such a long time ago. Certainly we've watched that tape to try to glean anything from it. But like you mentioned, they've done an excellent job of reinventing themselves. If you just open the laptop and watch their last 5 games, you wouldn't think they've missed a beat. They just are playing a little bit different style now, and kudos to Coach Golden and their staff for changing it up midstream. That's a big hit, but they've handled it flawlessly, and their kids are playing with a lot of confidence. They're playing more small ball lineups for obvious reasons, but their strength of their team, other than Castleton, has always been the number of guards that they have that can do so many things offensively and defensively. They don't rely on one particular player. They've got a bunch of guys that are interchangeable 1 through 4, and now that they switched up their scheme a little bit, they're even more positionless than they have been all year long, and they're coming off 2 wins. So it's, I think it's impossible not to have a glitch when you lose someone of that caliber and that productivity and that experience and what he meant for that basketball team. But They're really good, and they seem like they're really confident, and they're a really good space right now. And what our guys can't do is look at them like, oh, they don't have Castleton now. It should be easier. And we're doing our darndest to get them to understand that, that's got to be the furthest thing from your mind. I mean, we need to focus on the guys that are going to be playing and how good they are and what they're running and trying to do the best job we can to stop them.
Go back to the cameras and John.
We were just talking to Tolu, and he was saying how these next few games are the biggest of his career, and he's so excited for that challenge for him and for the team. And I bet that might be the case for a lot of guys on the team. I don't think anyone has NCAA experience besides Will. You, having success on that stage before in the past, is there any kind of extra advice that you've given your guys on playing on a stage kind of like this, higher than they've played on before?
Not really. We've played in some great environments. We've had opportunities in front of thousands of people when we were, the team that didn't have all the supporters there. And so these neutral site games have a different feel to them than going on the road. We've played in a handful of neutral site games, but obviously not with the stakes that they'll be presented on Thursday and hopefully through the weekend. But I'm pretty confident in our guys' ability to focus on, the task at hand and staying in the moment and having some blinders on, if you will, and just competing. But, I can't really help them. I've never played in the SEC tournament. Never coached. Obviously never played. But I've never coached in the SEC tournament. I've coached in a lot of postseason tournaments, but not this particular one. So, I don't think there'll be a lot of talk about that leading up to the game, though.
You had mentioned, Coach Golden. I mean, when you look, up and down through the SEC standings, it's kind of flooded with, veteran coaches, rookie coaches, veteran. Well, what do you think of kind of the mix of the coaches throughout the conference and how competitive, the conference can be in the coming seasons?
Yeah, I don't spend a lot of time thinking about, the mix of coaches and where they came from or who they are or what they've done or what they haven't done. Certainly have been impressed with the quality of teams and programs, and one of the things that sticks out to me the most is there's just no give up in anybody. I mean, a team can be in the middle of a tough streak, and you would think that their confidence would be lower, that some guys maybe, are thinking about their own individual future, and it would hurt the productivity of a team, but you just haven't seen it. I mean, every single night, if you're not ready to go, you're going to get punched in the mouth. And I think that's a great testament to the quality of staffs, of players that are in this league. And I just can't imagine any other coach not, agreeing with what I've said. And even us, we had to go through it ourselves. And there's been other teams that have had tough streaks and they just bounce back. And the teams that maybe haven't won as many games as they've wanted, which is most of us, if you're being honest, seem to stick together and have resiliency and keep grinding and keep competing. And that's probably what's impressed me the most about the league thus far.
Got time for a couple more. We'll go back to Paul.
Coach, seems like we bring up Sean Jones's name a good bit here lately, but in the Vanderbilt game, he was in there at crunch time too and made some big time plays to help you guys kind of scrap back into it. You've talked often about just the experience he gets this year, how it pays off, but on that same side of the coin, how much is that experience in crunch time going to pay off for him down the road?
Yeah, time will tell. It's just gotten to the point where it's hard to keep him off the floor. He doesn't start, so there's 10 minutes of the game where he's not going to be in there for the most part, generally speaking, so there's 30 minutes available to him, and he can't play, that many straight, but he's just been so productive, and he was always productive defensively, but now he's being productive on the offensive end. He's made some open shots for us. He's getting more confident in where he needs to be and his spacing on offense and just what he needs to do to help us win. And he's been a huge bonus/shot in the arm for us, and you can just see it in his body language in practice, outside of practice, that he feels really good about where he's at. And, we'll obviously, hopefully have a bunch of basketball yet to be played, and we'll see, how much better he can get.
Go ahead and wrap us up.
Coach, I wanted to ask about your reaction to the accolades that Tolu received yesterday. I know you being there in Jackson with him for the trophy ceremony, but just, what was it like? What was your reaction like to both the things he received yesterday, and not only that, but just what has it been like coaching him so far this season?
First of all, I've made it known many times what a big fan I am of Tolu Smith as a human being. He's just quality. Obviously, he's a great player, and he's very deserving of all of the awards and accolades that he's receiving. I'm happy for him. I'm happy for all our guys that get those kind of awards. But when someone that you've watched and witnessed works so hard at his craft and spends so much time on his game that gets rewarded like that, it just makes you feel good. Every coach in America at every level talks about, putting the time in, putting the work in. It'll pay off. And when you're watching it develop right before your eyes, it's cool to see him, reap the dividends of it. But, yesterday was a special day for he and his family. His parents, who are just wonderful people and have done such a tremendous job of raising Tolu into the man that he is. We're there to experience it. And, what a short time period that will be a wonderful memory for the rest of his life, to be awarded the Howell Award, and then at the same time, basically, it being announced that he was all SEC first team. And, I don't know many people in the country that had them kind of awards bestowed upon him in that short period of time. And I didn't know what to expect of the day, to be honest with you. I'd never experienced, that actual award ceremony with the Gillum Trophy and the Howell Trophy, and just was super impressed with the quality of people. It was great to interact with the other coaches that were in attendance and to hear them talk about their student athletes. There is a reason that those kids were in that room. It was very evident by how they carried themselves, by how the coaches talked about them, and the people that were in charge of the event did such a first-class job in making it, very worthwhile to be a part of it.